What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the A Zone. And tonight we're going to be discussing two major matches that most of the crew here attended down in Texas in the past few weeks. So the first one we're going to talk about was down near Houston, and that was the Texas State Open Championship. And Matt, Coy, and I went to that one. And the next one was the Double Tap Championship up in Wichita Falls, and Coy and Matt both went to that match. So we'll start with the Texas State match, I guess. And so for this match, Matt and I were lucky enough to get to stay with Coy. So that was a lot of fun, and we got to squad together too. And so Matt, you shot carry optics like usual. I shot production like usual, and Coy shot open, which is mostly usual for you. So I don't know, do we want to go around the circle and say what we thought of the match and how our match went?
How about you give your impression first?
Okay. Works for me. So I actually really enjoyed the match, and to my understanding, this was the first major match maybe that this club has held. It's a relatively new club. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. So I think given that context, it went really well. It wasn't perfect, but it was really good. The most important thing I think was I really liked the stages. I thought they were interesting and had options, and they were fun to shoot and kind of work out a plan for. And then I guess also most important would be the officiating. I think by and large that was really good, with maybe a few iffy moments, but nothing super horrible, at least that I saw, or in my opinion. So definitely a little bit of room for improvement there, but it wasn't a total catastrophe, in my opinion, at least. So the couple things that I didn't like were they had some issues with props. So I know, like, on one stage, the person that shot in front of me, there were a couple stomp boxes on this stage, and the person that shot in front of me had to shoot it literally 5 times to get the activated targets to activate correctly. So luckily it was a low round count stage, so he didn't waste that much ammo, but it was a little extreme going through those reshoots and staying on deck waiting for your turn for that.
The day before, one of those stomp boxes actually had to be replaced.
Yeah, so I think they had like ongoing issues with the stomp boxes, and so I actually liked the stage overall, but if it were up to me, I probably would have thrown that stage out like long before our squad even got there, based on how many issues it sounded like they were having with it. But in the end, it actually worked out. I thought it was a fun stage, and I don't think it impacted like scoring, or like I don't think there were any scoring discrepancies because of that. It was just kind of annoying to like stand there and like multiple squads got backed up waiting on an 8-round stage. So that was kind of frustrating, but it wasn't the end of the world. Another issue they had was, and I probably won't go into detail because I know one of you guys probably will, but they had some poppers that had issues, so where you would hit them like dead center and they just wouldn't fall, and then of course you would fail calibration, or people were shooting them down, which was probably a smart move. But so I know there was some frustration with that, totally understandable frustration. But by and large, like I said, the match was really good. Again, the stages were a ton of fun. I think in pretty much all the divisions that mattered, there was a pretty good amount of heat, even in production. So I'll say there was only 14 in production, which probably doesn't surprise anyone that the numbers for that are dwindling down, sadly. But even with only 14 there were, I think, 4 M-class guys, including myself. So there was some pretty fun racing at the top there. And I know, like, in carry optics, there was, not surprisingly, a ton of people, and a lot of the people very good shooters as well. So that was pretty cool. I wasn't paying a ton of attention to like limited and open, but it looked like there was some pretty good heat there also. Go ahead.
It's like a nationals level talent there. Castro was at the match.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's a fantastic shooter, obviously.
I thought that was really cool. Speaking of match winners, Connor, didn't you win production?
Yes, so I am happy to say that I did win production division. Thanks, guys. And
so, how much money did you win? Like, can you quit your job?
Well, After taxes, it came out to $0. But yeah, no, I cannot quit my job, unfortunately. I have a high standard of living, so $0 just wasn't enough. But but I did. I had a bunch of fun. I am proud. Like I said, there were I think three other masterclass guys in production, and I know most of those guys at least casually, and they're all really solid shooters. So it was a big accomplishment for me personally to beat them. So I'm really happy with that. Rowdy in particular. I think a lot of people have probably heard of him. He's a great shooter, and I beat him by about 2%, I think. And again, in the grand scheme of things, I guess winning a sectional match isn't that big of a deal. But for me, it was a big deal because Rowdy's a great shooter, so I'm really proud to have barely beat him. But yeah, I'm super happy with that. Had a bunch of fun, and yeah, overall it was pretty good. I guess that's about all I can think of.
Happy to beat him. What a humble brag.
Well, I'm not going to pretend it's not a big deal. I was absolutely not sure about beating Rowdy. I was definitely a little scared of him out there. So,
and I guess a big difference, or I guess depending upon how you think, you shot the 2-day version. You shot in 1 day.
Yeah, and so at least in my opinion, I think there is a little bit of an advantage to shooting it over 2 days. Like if I have my choice, I would rather do what I did. I know I've spoken to Rowdy, and I think I don't know if he feels the same way about there being an advantage, but I think he typically prefers to shoot in 1 day.
Because of how religious he is, he prefers 1 day, so that he's a church-going kind of guy on Sunday. That way he shoots all day on Saturday.
Yeah, and I mean, I tell you what, if he had any advantage from splitting it up over 2 days, he might have beat me because it was pretty close. And he shot really well over 1 day. Like looking at the scores after the first day, I was like, oh God, I thought I did well. And he did really well. So, again, I was pretty pleased with that, obviously, not trying to toot my own horn too much, but I had a good time with that.
I don't think I've ever asked you other guys. Can we in the group see quick who is a believer in multi-day match as an advantage? Calvin, are you?
I'm kind of split on this one because depending on the situation, it can be an advantage, but then it can also be a disadvantage because you can be smoked after the first day and then shoot like poo-poo the second day, especially if it's like super hot.
What about you, man?
I can go both ways, honestly. I prefer splitting up over multiple days. I think Nils, when he was guesting on the Hit Factor podcast, like he himself said he had a mental advantage shooting nationals and then area 2 like back to back in a shorter span of time. Like he was just on fire, and because he was able to keep that positive mentality up for him for like give or take 3 days of shooting in a row, like shortening nationals for him from 3 days to 2, and then shooting all of area 2 in 1 day. It definitely works out for someone like him.
I'm in the multi-day advantage camp, and I'm probably alone on this one because I've got superior nutrition and athleticism. So the longer a day goes on, the better I shoot now. It's fucking horrible, guys.
I get pretty fatigued as well.
Yeah, that's where my head's at. So if I can shoot 5 or 6 stages and fuck off and come back and do it again the next day, I'm like way better off than I am shooting 10 stages straight or 15 stages straight or whatever.
It's like a mental thing for me too as well. Like I just get mentally tired. Like you kind of have to be like paying attention for a pretty long time at just shoot 6 stages. And like I have shot 12 stage matches all in 1 day before, and I mean you can do it. It's just I think at least for me personally, I have a little bit of an advantage if I can do like half 1 day, half the next.
I don't think I've ever shot a USPSA match, like a long match in a 1 day format. So Calvin, I'll find out here next week.
Calvin, I was going to say, we've shot together before. I can tell you right now, you're going to be fucking miserable.
But I feel like I get equally as miserable when you have like matches where they drag on and like you're behind schedule. So you're out there, like your half day schedule ends up taking the full day anyway. So then you're out for 2 full days shooting half the stages.
Just imagine, Calvin, that feeling of the last stage, but for like 7 stages in a row.
Yeah, I remember it was a few years ago. I shot Area 4 down in Rosenberg, and I did it all in one day. It was the year that it got rained out due to like literal tornado, and then we had to come back like a couple months later. And so it was in August or something, August or September, and it was really hot. And I had blown my days off work going down there the first time when it got canceled, and so I did it all in one day. And I was so tired after the match. I mean, it was rough. I mean, I did it, and I didn't feel like I had any dumpster fires because of it, but I mean, I was like wiped.
It's probably easier if you have like stores of energy, like, you know.
I mean, if you pump a line of Coke or something, like.
Does Coke have calories?
It's a good question.
Yes.
Never heard that one before.
Not if you know the secret recipe.
Yeah,
Some kind of energy here.
All right, I'm sorry for fucking us up, guys. I thought the match was okay. I did not like the equipment issues. I think that's I guess they get a free pass. This is actually like this is my local match that I shoot once a month. And I only shoot local matches once a month now, so I've made this one the one, and I thought the match was like right in line with the typical quality. The bummer is their equipment didn't really stand up to like quadruple the competitors for a major match in terms of like activated props. That was a huge bummer. And I'm going to make another tangent, so sorry in advance. Too bad we don't get Matt Hopkins as potential president and a fix for poppers. So people like Matt get ultra fucked by center punching a popper and it laughing at him.
Twice.
It was like the worst popper the entire match that you could have had that happen on.
To the worst target too.
That's what I mean. Like if you had that happen on any other popper, it would have been better.
Jeez. What made this popper so different from the rest?
This one was it
was a forward following activator that like as the popper falls forward, there's a tab that's supposed to follow with it, but it would like get stuck on the first shot, and then the second shot it would finally fall.
And then what do you call it? It was a mini popper decently far. I want to say like between 15 and 20. Like it was like a meaningful one to get, and also the way the stage was laid out. So if you got popper fucked and had to like activate it later, I forget, the activated target was like a 20 yard
tuxedo
target. Right? So everyone's like, oh, I'm so smart, I'm gonna shoot this first. And the popper's like, no, fuck you, you shoot minor, and you get the full speed presentation because that shit didn't go down. And you're not going to be like, oh, I'll call for calibration at a major match and take 2 mics FTSA on a target. And then there is another thing around like chrono calibration. I guess they got some guys not of this generation to run a lab radar, which was fantastic.
I mean, they were really young.
Yeah, yes. So Zoomers don't know how to work a lab radar?
Yes, of course. They were metering people at like 33 yards or something, or 33 feet for rounds, and they had somebody shooting factory ammo out of a PCC, out of a 16-inch gun, metering subminor, and they had an open shooter who. No, he didn't win this match. He won the other match that followed, but they had an open shooter that like is shooting opens like so much open where it like vibrates the air when you're standing like 30 feet away, and they chronoed him sub major, and so they got that sorted out. Turns out at 33 feet your shit will slow down quite a bit.
I'd like to point out that I was still 135 and I got red on the slow. They hadn't fixed it when I went yet, so. And I had no popper issues either, I'd like to note. So.
I was shooting factory and I had popper issues.
Yeah, you got screwed.
What'd you chrono at, Matt?
144. Okay, correction. 144 when the chrono was set correctly.
Oh, that's still pretty hot.
That's quite high.
Yeah.
It's
like halfway to major.
It's freaking 150 Syntec too.
Wait, weren't you shooting? Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, I was shooting 150 Syntec.
That's 144 power factor? Wow.
Dude,
I didn't
a
realize it
guy,
was that hot. I thought
a
it was
guy
like
we know.
scraping the power floor.
Well, I mean, like a guy we know. I think he went to 2020 Carry Optics Nationals, and he was making 150 out of a Gen 434.
Wow. So they must have started loading that hotter because I remember, well, maybe I'm just wrong, but I thought people were saying it was like way closer to 125.
You're probably thinking of the infamous event where a known federal shooter was right under major power factor with 45.
Okay. So maybe
Yeah, it
the
was a
nine,
45 ammo.
the nine has always been plenty.
9 has always
I
been
think
toasty.
Okay.
I think you kind of have to be over 125 with like 150 grain because like if you make it so slow, it probably won't even function right.
There's
I
a
can
reason
tell
why
you-
it's
I don't
called
know.
certified
I can
match
tell you
ammo.
right now, 110 power factor will cycle a lot of factories run guns. Don't ask me how I know, but it works. It's pretty fun too.
I've
But
never tried it.
tangent, sad days that the famed and fabled Hopkins is not in the running for presidency anymore because one of the changes I was looking for was not. So this is the first match I ever seen it at where people actually did double calibrations, and it's even dumber in real life than it sounds on paper.
Which is impressive because it sounds really dumb on paper.
But besides those things, the match is pretty straightforward. I shot like 77% of Castro, and I got a real life taste of Castro's really fast.
Like how behind him were you, like in overall time?
Let me look up quick because I know
And
it's
then like
20%, but I don't know what time wise that. All I remember is there's a stage where I was top 5 in, and he was number 6, but he did it with the mic, and he was that much faster than me. It was pretty impressive.
and going back to calibration, was anyone saved by the new calibration rules?
I don't know.
The
I chronoed
calibration
it.
process?
Yeah, I chronoed at
Not-
175 after it was fixed. So I have a feeling like if I would have been 10 power factors under, then that would have been horrible. I actually don't think they went back and fixed anyone. I think a lot of people did end up going sub minor or sub major.
See, that's messed up.
So like, okay, for Chrono, they have like an actual specification for the old like sun sensor, like with the shades kind of thing, where like you actually see it out at 10 feet, and like you shoot through the two triangles.
I meant steel calibration.
Oh.
Like, was anyone saved by the double steel calibration?
No, at least not that I saw. Nobody got helped by it. It just fell twice.
Oh, yeah.
So you
Just took
you
twice as long.
took
and
twice
fell
as long.
Oh, not only would it like would the popper fall twice, but they would allowed by the rules, they would shift around and mess with the popper to make sure it fell for the next shooter.
Well, yeah, and that's what was frustrating is someone would get screwed by calibration, and it was like, okay, we're presuming that this popper is correct because we just gave the person that shot it a miss, and then you see all the ROs down there adjusting the popper. It's like if you're adjusting the popper, that means something was wrong with it, and then why did the previous shooter get a miss?
Yeah,
And
that's so dumb.
if something wasn't wrong with it to where you gave the shooter a miss, then you shouldn't have to adjust it. I don't know. I thought that was stupid.
I don't
It
know.
just points out how dumb the rules are. I don't really fault the ROs for following the rules, but it's just a stupid rule.
You know what makes a lot of sense, Connor? Instead of testing it twice, we should test it 3 times.
Well, I bet
There you
someone
go.
would still lose calibration, so I'm almost thinking we should do 4 more times.
You just have to make sure the same person reset the same thing every single time, right? And it's going to be different.
I started hearing a lot of sketchy stuff about that too. People are like, yeah, so the second time I went to go reset it, like I lodged it extra good into the activator, and I was like, don't tell me this.
Yeah, keep that to
Jesus
yourself.
fucking Christ. Did they do that thinking that it would be better to do that way, or were they trying to fuck somebody over?
No, they
were
weren't trying to screw somebody.
They were trying to help them. Like they were like, oh, I'll set the activator extra fucking hard, so the reshoot is like guaranteed. They're like, oh, I'll wedge the popper because This one was one of those like last ones, but the popper like pivoted on a wedge, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh yeah, we could just like put the base of the popper outside of the wedge, and it guarantees stays up. It's super set. It's super like sketchy.
I think a lot of the time, like for other matches, how I guess at Area 6 recently, it was staff reset. This definitely would have been a match where at least staff resetting props, like, and then just have competitors patch up paper targets. It definitely would have helped.
Well, I don't know, were the issues with the popper due to actual incorrect reset?
I have no idea.
I don't know either.
I don't know. I wasn't there.
I don't shoot enough forward falling poppers to know.
I shoot major, and so I pay for the privilege of not having to worry about it.
There's no rule against shooting major in production. You just don't get the credit for it. Or in carry optics.
It's good popper insurance. I've never been popper fucked, guys.
Yeah. Just get a Glock 21.
Which one is that?
That's the 45 one.
Actually, that's me. When we talk about the next match, I'll tell you about how I got popper fucked by a non-hinging popper.
Oh, that one popper. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
All right, well, Matt, let's hear your thoughts on the match. I think you've said it yet, at least.
If anything, it reflects both you and Koi, so I wouldn't be adding anything of value.
Okay.
So I guess we should move on to double tap.
Yeah. So so next up, I think this was this the week after, or was there 2 weeks?
It was the weekend right after.
Okay, so the weekend right after. I didn't go to this match, but
because you're a loser.
Yeah, I know.
I'm a double loser then.
Yeah, but at least you're going to Dragons Cup. I'm not even going to that. But so at double tap, Matt and Koi went, and so let's hear about that.
I'll keep mine short. Mine was a shit show, so I really have nothing much to say about it. And it was an awesome match. Robert, I guess he mentioned he was like having health issues, so he like set up something that was more streamlined, and it definitely felt that way. It was like 100% like ability delivery match, and it was super fun. It sounds weird, but there was like 0 activated targets, and I'm okay with that. Like it was
which is completely unusual for double tap.
Yeah, super weird. But otherwise, it's run pretty okay. This was also the match where it was like, because I'm like on year 4 or 5, I think, of USPSA and hanging out with the same crowd, like everyone's figured out how to maintain equipment. This is like one of those matches where it's like sand and dust and dirt blowing in the air will actually fuck up your match. You could tell who all the noobs were because they're like open holster and no bag or whatever, and everybody else.
Are you talking about just like the open guns, or?
Literally,
this is everyone.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah. So
I've shot there twice and never used a bag, but.
Yeah, I didn't use a bag last time I went there.
Yeah, I feel like last year it was like not too bad. This year, so I switched to these like new open pouches. Like the face of them is open, and like I swipe my finger at the end of the match on the inside of the mag, and my like whole finger's covered in like dirt and oil and just random shit. I'm like, yeah, it's probably good that I bagged my gun. I think this year was especially bad.
There was like 17. There was a pretty consistent 17 mile per hour wind that was blowing dust all over the place. So, like, almost every single person had at least a jam.
That's pretty crazy. I know Dragon's Cup's pretty bad with like the dirt and sand there.
So the good thing about them is that the owner of the company that hosts the show, he actually has a couple of water trucks, so they'll water the entire place to make sure that dust stays down.
I thought you were gonna say you can use the water to wash your gun off, like between stages. I was like,
they'd probably let you.
No, they just hose people down.
I was like, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, literally, double tap was just raw shooting skill. Like, not the unusual can swinger that they're known for. It's that 3 parallel swinging swinging target thing that they have.
I hate that target.
I like it. It swings slow, so I can hit it.
It's interesting for the different challenge that it brings, but like the reset for it is a little bit annoying.
What bothered me about that target was the first time I ever saw it. It was the very first stage of the day, and we were shooting into the
into
sun.
the sun.
So I couldn't see it. Yeah, it was
But yeah,
awesome.
I mean,
Yeah, that would
Old
suck.
slinger, you can't see it.
yeah, double tap was pretty dang fun this year. Max Michelle and Dozzy just slaughtered everyone like usual. Like the next closest GM and I were only 89 to 88%, or something like
Was
that.
there anyone in between? Oh, okay, so you guys are the closest. Okay.
Yeah, it was Alex Acosta and I. We were third and fourth, far behind Max and Dozzy.
That's really cool that level of talent was there, though.
Yeah,
At least in carry optics. I mean, that's awesome.
I mean, some other notable people. Travis Tomasi also showed up.
So what did he shoot? Which division did he shoot?
He shoots limited.
Okay.
I can't really remember off the top of my head. Mel Rodero's there. I think he won senior and open.
I think a lot of the people that we shot with did really well. Ken won Open G, Zach won PCCG, Ryan was like second Open M, I think. David was Open A winner. Like, just like a lot of people we shoot with did really well.
The local crew represented.
Yep.
Good. That's awesome.
It's a 2.5 hour drive. So, or at least if you're in Dallas.
5.5 hours. Thank you.
And so you guys, so speaking of which, though, you guys had to, you didn't have a choice. You had to shoot that match in one day, right?
Yes.
How many stages was
it? 11.
Okay, so that's like a full, sectional sized match.
Yeah, and a forced lunch in the middle.
So how was that compared to shooting Texas State in 2 days?
Fucking worse, dude.
It was terrible.
Yeah. And
because of so many stages
now to like Houston humidity and heat, and so like summer doesn't really bother me at all, but it was fucking bad. Like at like stage 10, starting to drag. And if I could have like shot through lunch, that'd have been awesome. Or if it had been split up in 2 days, I think that would have been awesome too.
Do you really want to stay in Wichita Falls for 2 days though?
I wouldn't mind if I didn't say where I stayed. I ended up at like an extended stay with Bethesda. It was fucking awesome. I didn't have to dry fire before the match because I could just live fire. It's good.
Well, that's definitely a competitive advantage, I would think.
Yeah, I'm the dummy who drove up the morning of the match.
Yeah, that's rough, dude. Did you drive home after it?
Yeah.
Woof.
Yeah, I drove there morning of, drove there after the match, and like after I took a shower and ate dinner, I just immediately passed out.
I believe it.
Leaving my house at 5 a.m.
That sounds terrible.
It is terrible. But it's what got me my 3 for 3 prize from the random raffle.
Yeah.
Matt, remind me again, did you win Raw Time Champ at one of these or both of them?
I won Raw Time Champ for Carry Optics Raw Time Champ, both. I think it was both Texas State and Double Tap.
Nice, let's go.
And that's what matters.
Of course.
I'll keep that in mind. Raw Time Champ. That's what matters.
I think for the first time in my whole life, I won Raw Time Champ actually in production, or for low cap, if you could count all that. Not that there's that many people, but normally I'm slower than everyone.
You think that's because you're
still down to get your hits?
God damn it, beat me to it.
I did have a mic at Texas State, so if I had just slowed down, I probably wouldn't have had a penalty.
So I forgot to mention this about the last match. So at the end of the match, the RO is like a guy we know, or at least I know because I shoot in Houston, and he's like reading off the winners in our squad because we've got like guys that are doing super well, like they set stage wins and stuff on that stage. Anyways, he's going down the list in our squad, and he calls Connor's name ahead of mine. Connor puts down a better time and better hits than me in open. And I'm like, fucking hell, like let's go.
To be fair, that last stage we shot was like the spiciest stage of my match the whole weekend, so I ended on a good one.
Yeah, that's pretty bad though. It's like taking a Toyota Corolla and like whipping like a Ferrari's ass. That's awesome.
I'll have you know my Shadow 2s are Ferraris, okay?
I have Honda
Okay, so
Civics.
you have
Watch your mouth.
you have the Corolla Sport.
It's
Yeah,
the
that's-
S with the bolt-on carbon fiber wing.
Yeah, it definitely needs an aftermarket spoiler on there.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I think those were two pretty good matches overall. So definitely glad I went to that, and I hope they. I'll probably go to Double Tap in the future. I'm kind of sad I didn't go this year. Didn't really
I
have a
know,
good
same.
reason.
That's what you get for dropping cash on a rust bucket.
Wait, what did I do? Oh, my car. I thought you were talking about Cash, like our friend. I was like, I did what to Cash?
No.
No, yeah, I did buy a stupid car. That was poor life choice there.
Should have bought an S2000.
I should have. Probably would have worked. Well, but yeah, so I think that was two fun matches. I am excited, so y'all stay tuned. Most of the crew, except for me, is gonna go to Dragons Cup in 1 week, next weekend.
Yep.
Yeah, so and that I think has a pretty is familiar with that match, but if you aren't, that's a really good match, and they usually have really interesting stages, and it's a very high production quality match. So I'm interested to hear how that
It's a
match
very
goes.
technical match. So
Yeah, I remember you saying that last year.
a lot of mics from people. Like even like really good shooters will miss because their shots are so hard.
But yeah, that should be a fun one. So I'm excited to see how you guys do with that one and hear how it goes. But yeah, I think you guys have anything else? Calvin's just rolling us out.